Hi Rashidul, we'll wait for like 3 minutes before we start. Is that okay?
Okay, sir.
Okay. Hi Rahanul, we'll wait for like 1 more minute and then we'll start. Alright, I suppose I'll start with the two of you, if that's okay with you guys. Yeah? Okay. So I'll start with the first question. Yeah, the question is on your screen. So this is something that Professor Ankur keeps on talking about. He keeps on talking about Malthusian theory of population. So I am hoping that you understood by now what is Malthusian theory of population. Bharatma, this is the first question, so you may as well attempt. Actually, the hint is in the graph itself, so you don't have to worry about it. Oh. So, the question is basically what is Malthusian theory of population? What does it mean? I mean, I can't explain further. I mean, you can read uh, the options. I can't explain further because that would be just giving out the answer. So there is a theory of population that is called the Malthusian theory of population. It was I think Malthus came with that theory in the 1700s. So hmm, he was looking at how population and food production would go hand in hand in the future. right? So population would definitely increase, food will also increase, but how would they increase, how much would they increase, was a thing that he was talking about. So for example, when I say that there are okay, let's just take an example of rats or mice. Okay, so there are two mice, one male and one female, at a place. Then eventually they'll produce, I don't know, two more. So now there are four mice, and if we don't consider uh, this whole inbreeding and other stuff right now, so that would mean that then now there are four mice, so that they should produce into two, right? Okay, sorry. So okay, so two mice are producing four mice, so that is like six mice, and then they are producing two more of that. So basically it gives like a geometric progression. Hmm. Do you guys know what geometric progression is? No, geometric progression is not common ratio. So it's basically, okay, what is arithmetic progression? That could be a common ratio. Arithmetic progression is a common ratio. So arithmetic progression is, yeah, no, no, that is not arithmetic progression. So arithmetic progression is more like, ha, yeah, that could be said, yes, yeah. So where do you, I mean, which, so Raihan, if you understand this, 1, 2, 3, 4 is the arithmetic progression, and geometric progression is 2, 4, 8, 6. Wait, I have to confirm something. Geometric. Okay. Okay. So yeah, so if geometric progression is 2, 4, 8, 6, and arithmetic is 1, 2, 3, then which graph denotes what in this particular sorry, yeah, over here, is this a geometric progression or an arithmetic progression? Is this a geometric progression or an arithmetic progression, is what my question is. So if harmonically is basically 1 by 2, 1 by 3, 1 by 4, 1 by 5, like that. So it goes like this. I mean, you can look up, you can Google it up. It's also one of those progressions. Others, I think Bharat got the right answer. It's A, human population increases geometrically, while food production increases arithmetically. Sorry, Ryan, C is not the answer, neither is B, it's A, that's the answer. So, geometric progression is basically, yeah. So, if there are two individuals of a population, they can increase twice, so that becomes, the new population becomes 4. Then all the 4 breed and become twice, then they become 8. Then all the 8 in the generation become twice, then they become 16. But that doesn't happen in food production. Food production, with the technology, you can just increase it arithmetically, you cannot increase it geometrically. So so in this graph, the population curve is geometric, where so this is 2, then it increases double of that 4, then increases double of that 8, then it increases double of that 16. Whereas in arithmetic progression, production of food, it's basically 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like that. So it goes arithmetically over here, whereas in population it goes geometrically over here. So what Malthusian was saying, that population would increase geometrically, while the food production would go arithmetically. So it's all okay till a certain period of time where they both come together, and then population grows much higher than the production of food. Then that would be a big problem for the global hunger and stuff like that. So that's what he was trying to say. The theory of population says that human population, because human population increases geometrically and because food production increases arithmetically, there would be a catastrophe in the future somewhere where both of them coincide, and population becomes much higher than the food production. Is everyone clear on that? Anyone else? Utkarsh, Janmoni, Bharat, and Rashidul. Okay, cool. So we'll go to the next question. Okay, it's there in your screen. So, everyone knows that there was this Jurassic period where dinosaurs roamed the earth. Then uh, there was Triassic. Then there was Silurian, Devonian. They're all uh, not historical. They're actually much older than they're these big periods of large periods of time in which certain species used to roam the earth. Everyone aware of that, right? Jurassic was, yeah, Jurassic, yeah, okay. Jurassic was when the dinosaurs used to roam and etc etc. So, Anthropocene is supposedly a period where human impact started getting much higher and having an impact on the earth at a much larger scale. So, the question is basically, when does Anthropocene start? So, everyone's saying beginning of agricultural revolution, that is like 12,000 to 15,000 years ago. Okay, I'll just give the answer. The answer is actually D. There hasn't been a conclusive agreement. Although all this, uh, all these can be actually periods when, or the start date for Anthropocene. I mean, they are like very good contenders of being the start date for Anthropocene. Like when agriculture revolution started, people could do lot other things apart from hunting and foraging for food. So there were a lot of other occupations that came up after that. Then beginning of industrial revolution, obviously a lot of machines started coming up, so things were faster, food production got faster, etc etc. And then atomic bomb testing, then there was another kind of technological advancement that happened, which immediately brought about I mean, like in 50 to 50 70 years we are at this stage after that testing. So that could also be one of the start dates of Anthropocene, but technically nobody has come to a conclusive agreement as to what is exactly the start date for the Anthropocene. So the answer is D. I hope everyone's okay with that. Should I go ahead? Yeah, the answer is, oh, sorry, the question is on your screen. So late Devonian is okay. So Permian Triassic is this period that you see over here. Triassic Jurassic is this over here. Cretaceous Paleogene is this over here, and late Devonian is this. So I'm looking. So like I said, okay. Bharat Kumar says C. Raihanul says B. Okay. Anybody else? Okay, I'll give you a very super clue. Dinosaurs got extinct only like 65 million years ago. Now you can look at the graph and tell me what is sitting over at 65 million years back. Janmoni says C. 65 million years ago. It's a big clue, people. This is 0, this is 50, this is 100. So 65 is somewhere in between this. What sits over here? PG, sorry. That is Cretaceous Paleogene extinction. So answer is C. Janmoni and Bharat Kumar, yeah, Raihanul is also right. Is everyone okay with this? Can we move ahead, or do you want some more explanation? Okay. Okay, the next question is on your on your screen. Okay, Ryan says D. Anybody else? Anybody else? So the hint is basically, we already know that B is true over here. If you think C and A is also true, then the answer is D definitely. Because in the last question we talked about for 5 major extinctions, which had nothing to do with humans. Bharat also says D. Rashid, Janmoni, Utkarsh, do you think you want to attempt this question? I mean, could be wrong, you could be right as well. Okay. Okay. Rashid? Cool. I think everyone just followed the trend, or everyone understood it. So yeah, so it's an ongoing extinction. So this happened in this happens in on Anthropocene, sixth mass extinction. This is supposedly happening in on Anthropocene, which is the current epoch that we are in. Epoch, right? Yeah, epoch that we are in. And yes, it has the extinction rate of species is 100 to 1000 times higher than natural extinction rates. Then we already discussed in the last question that there have already been five major extinctions in the past, and it also includes the disappearance of large land mammals and animals that were in the end of last glacial period. So animals like there was this gigantic sloth and some rhinoceros. I mean, you can if you watch this movie called Ice Age, most of the animals over there are these megafauna that we are talking about. So most of them are megafauna over there. So their disappearance is also apparently uh, credited to the human population that was growing at that time in America and other places. So yes, the answer is D, all of the above. I'll move ahead. And also, if you want to check this book called The Sixth Extinction. It's actually a very nice read. It's not very difficult to understand as well. This writer Elizabeth Colbert, she writes very beautifully. So you could get a copy of it online or offline. I'm sure you can you know how to download books and all. So um, yeah, I mean, give it a read. I suppose it explains a lot of these things that are happening, so it might be useful. Next is next question is on your screen. Bharat says D. Okay. D. Answer to the previous question was D. All of the above. Okay. So Jane Goodall is. Do people know who Jane Goodall is? Anybody? If you Google her, you'll find. Okay, Jane Goodall is somebody who studied. No, no, not climate activist. Activist. She apart from Diane Fossey and one other woman, they all studied the great apes and in different parts of the world. So she studied chimpanzees, and Diane Fossey was studying gorillas, and this other woman I keep forgetting her name, but yeah, she was studying orangutans. So all the great apes, so they were all studied by women at that time. Like this was like some 50 years back or something. There's a movie on Diane Fossey as well. Um, yeah, so she's very famous, and she has written a lot of books, and she yeah, there's a documentary on her as well, and she is actually an inspiration for a lot of people to get into this field of animal behavioral study and stuff like that. So but yeah, I mean, very recently she made this comment that human population growth is responsible for all the climate crisis happening in the world right now. But I don't know why she made that comment, but people have lashed back at her saying that it is not the, I mean, it's no use blaming the developing countries who have a higher than average population growth, when the real reason why the climate crisis is also happening is because of the inequalities, that is like the the developed countries and their more higher than average like lifestyle. Their lifestyles are pretty lavish, and that is what do you say, releasing a lot of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. So it's actually not very useful to blame the developing countries and tell them to cut down on their emissions, when it's the main culprits are actually the developed countries. So that is where, and why are they the culprits? Because of the wealth inequalities, the power inequalities, and also inequalities in terms of access to the resources. So the best resources usually go to the developed countries. They have the wealth and power to access all the uh, best food products, all the best clothing materials, etc., etc., when the production of all these materials are actually happening in other developing countries. So the answer is all of the above. Is everyone okay with the question? I mean, shall I move ahead? Okay. Sorry, I've just made a slight change in the question, so you can read that. So this inequality that we're talking about is basically talks about the inequality in terms of carbon dioxide emission. Uh, which is the country that gives off the most emission? Which is the country that gives off the least emission? That kind of thing. So, but this is also based on not just the country; it's also based on the income group of the people of the world. So, they're both accounted for in this question. So B is not. You think B is not the answer? A continent of Asia with 60% of population emits over 49% of the CO2 emission. Bharat says D. Raihanul says B is not the answer. A and C is the answer. Okay. Utkarsh says D. Janmoni says D. Okay. Anybody else? Rashid, you are not answering any question. Okay. So the answer is okay. I'll give you the answer once you look at the next page. Can you guys see the page? Do you want me to increase the... Oh, okay. Mm, can you guys see what is written in the slide? Okay, I'll just explain it a bit. So the text tells you this is basically looking at the global carbon dioxide emission in 2016, and the y-axis is per capita emission, and the population x-axis is the population size. X-axis is population, y-axis is per capita emission. So you can see if you're looking at the income group, then high income and upper middle income, which makes 51% of the population, creates about 86% of the global carbon dioxide. That's A answer. Whereas the rest of the world, the 49% of the world, which belongs to the lower middle income and the low income, gives out only about 14% of the global carbon dioxide. That's like this huge difference between the two halves of the world. So you can see that it's not the poor people or lower middle income people who are actually the problem over here. It's the other end, the richer people who are the problem over here. It might seem a little too communist or liberal, but I mean that is what the data says. Then you can see this is by continents, I suppose. So Africa over here, they only have 16. They have 16% of the population. That's almost 1/5 of the world population, but they have 4% of emission. Just 4%. That is about 1/16 of the emission. Then we have Asia, which is 60% of population. I mean, given that we have some of the largest populated countries like China and India, which takes upon almost 1/3 of the world population. So even Pakistan has higher population. So all the Asian countries included has about 60%, more than half of the world population, and they produce about half of the world global emission. So that is true actually. Your option B is also true. Then you have North America, which is only 5% of the population, but they produce about 18% of the emission. So what was the question? Yeah. So 18%. So you can see that okay. Huh. So American continent is per capita. Okay, so let's just look at the per capita over here. Per capita is basically per person how much is the so if we have 1 billion people in our country, and we are producing 20 tons of carbon emission per year, then that would per capita would be basically 20 ton upon 1 billion. So whatever number comes is the per capita emission for one person of our country of India. So that way in North America has about 18, you can see 18 ton carbon dioxide per person per year, whereas Asia has about 3.8 ton carbon dioxide per person per year, and Africa has only about 1.1 ton carbon dioxide per person per year. So basically North America emits about 5 times as much as Asia and 16 times as much as Africa. So all of these statements are true. So all of the above. Is everyone clear with this? Is everyone okay with what they saw? Raihanul says yes. Anybody else? Everyone clear? The answer is D. Yeah? Okay. Nobody's talking anything. I'll just move ahead. Sure. The question is, yeah. Okay. Thank you, Janmoni and Jyotsana. The question is on your screen. Yeah, the easy answer is D. But are people aware of what is tragedy of commons? Have people heard of this term? Okay. Rehanul, okay, where have you heard this term, tragedy of the commons? Somewhere. Was it taught to you or did you hear it like, okay. So okay. So tragedy of commons is something like it. This was 1968 article by someone called Hardin, and something that says that anything like any common resource. For example, over here you have groundwater. In the figure that you see is groundwater. So nobody actually owns groundwater because it's all connected. So even if you own like a piece of land, if you own a piece of land over here, you don't exactly own this water, right? Because it's connected. So even if you own the piece of land over it, it'll if it gets over, then it'll get over for everyone who is living on top of that. Similarly, land for pasture grazing land. So that's also something like a common resource. Then something like fisheries, like nobody owns seas and oceans. So who does the fish actually belong to? Do they belong to everyone, or do they belong to the countries that are bordering the I mean all especially fisheries in open ocean? So all these things are like common resources, and unless until you have, so if you have like if you have like an entitlement on for those things, for those common resources, if you own that particular property, then you can restrict the you. So if you own like a tree of jamun, say for example, you own a tree of jamun, then all the fruits that come on the tree of jamun can be can be used by you restrict who can actually pick from that tree. You restrict if possible, you can even restrict the birds and bees that come on the jamun tree. Like that, you own that property and you know what to do with that property, and you have plans for that property. But if it's a common resource where everyone nobody owns that property, then what might happen is something that Garrett Hardin was talking about in his article. So what he says is, when there's a common resource property, then each individual will actually want more of the resource, and eventually what will happen is in the future, because everyone wants more than the others, the resource would eventually diminish and get over. That's the first line. Okay. Then the second line is saying that in order to sustain these resources, one has to either give individualized property rights. Now, how do you give individualized property rights for groundwater resource is something that is impossible. I mean, that's not solved yet, but that is something that he says. Like for example, grazing ground, you can cut them into pieces and divide them for people who are actually using those grazing grounds. So kind of like yeah. So that is one solution. Or the other solution is that the state over here could mean government of India or the state government or any other authoritative authority basically, that can regulate the patterns of use so as to restrict over exploitation. So that was the other solution that Hardin was talking about. So the answer is yes, all of the above, but I'm just trying to explain what the tragedy of commons is, of the commons is. Has everyone understood what the tragedy of the commons is? Janmoni? Yeah, okay. And the others? Rashidul, Bharat, Utkarsh, Jyotsana. So we are talking about, I mean, the whole topic for this week was human ecology. So how ecology can be affected by human is all that we're talking about. So tragedy of commons, like over here, we're talking about water resources. We can also be talking about forest where people, tribal people actually go and collect non-timber forest, NTFP, non-timber forest product. So it could be like jadi, I don't know. There are different kinds of forest products that are sold, that are collected by the tribals and are sold outside. So how to restrict the usage of that and all these things? They are all commons which nobody exactly owns. So and these B and C is somewhat used to restrict the use, but yeah, Mahua is an NTFP. So that's yeah. So different techniques have been adopted to how to restrict the usage so that doesn't diminish and it's sustainably used to be used by the future generation. So that is the this question is about. Now, so this is an old way of thinking. 1968 article is a very old way of thinking. So there's this lady who came up. She's Eleanor Ostrom. So just read the thing and give the answer. ഹലോ ആ പറ ഞാൻ വീട്ടിലാണ് 7 മണിക്ക് ഞാൻ റെഡിയാവും ഒരു 7:15. ആ ഹാ ശരി ശരി ഓക്കെ ആ ഓക്കെ ശരി ബൈ. Okay, so Rehanu says B. Bharat says C. Rehanu says it's just a guess. Okay. Okay. So Eleanor Ostrom, like the question says, it's American political scientist. She got 2009 Nobel Prize, and she was basically trying to rebut this tragedy of the commons by Hardin. And she says that, so basically she looked at all the older case studies of commons being used by the local communities, and she found out that local communities have actually managed common property resources very sustainably, through local level organizations. So they'll have like local level organizations, like I don't know. I mean, for different things, you can have different organizations that regulate the resource use. And no, just because the thing is a common doesn't mean that people don't know how to sustainably use them. There have been thousands of examples across the world where people know that people know what sustainable use is. Even for example, fisheries. Take for example fisheries. People know when not to go to the sea to collect or to start fishing, because the fish is in the breeding season. So they know that. I mean, there with the experience, or with the older generation telling them what to do. There have been these there have been this knowledge that has passed from generation to generation, and that is something that people have been aware of, and they have been using or consuming stuff sustainably. So yeah, I mean, Harden might think that the comments are usually um, diminished or destroyed because nobody owns the property, but in reality there are a lot of examples where it has been sustainably used. No, the option B is wrong. Common property resources do not get managed by themselves. Then option C is also wrong. Local communities need to be educated. Some of the local communities actually have their own traditional ecological knowledge, TEK, that they have about how to sustainably use resources, etc., etc. So you know, you don't they don't need they don't exactly need education of that sort. And no, D is also not the answer. Actually, Eleanor did not believe in the tragedy of the commons. So yes, the answer is A. Have people understood what I was trying to say? Yeah. I mean, you could look at this magazine called Current Conservation. It's there in the references below. Current Conservation. You can look it up, and just if you're just looking for conservation issues, it's a beautiful magazine. You can just go through it. You can download it online and stuff like that. You can go through the older issues as well, and yeah, it's a good read. You can actually gain a lot of knowledge from there, just reading a magazine, and it's a very fun way of getting to know things. It's beautifully illustrated and stuff like that. Okay, so next question is on your screen. So Raihanul says A. Anybody else? Rashid says A. Jyotsna says A. Okay. Okay, so Utkarsh, you don't have an answer, is it? Or Rampur? Yeah, it is A. So provisioning is everyone knows what ecosystem services, also called ESS. Ecosystem services are services provided by ecosystems, as simply as easily defined as that, and it is classified into four broad categories: provisioning, regulating, supporting, and cultural. So food, raw material, genetic resources all fall into provisioning category. So I'll move on to the next question. Yeah. Oh. Yeah, here are all the this link would give you all the old issues as well, so you can download from there, and it's beautifully illustrated and nice writing. So okay, what is the answer of question 10? Okay. Okay. So everyone knows. So purification of water, air, carbon sequestration, climate regulation, waste decomposition, they're all part of the regulating category. So they're all regulating basically the earth system, and these are all ecosystem services that regulates the constant flow of yeah. Okay. Then I will. The answer is right. B is the answer. There's one more question that I wanted to do before we end the session. I think primates also include monkeys. Yeah, let me just check. Yeah, yeah. So primate is an order. It includes monkeys, apes, human beings, lemurs, tarsiers, and apes are basically tailless primates. So all the apes, yeah. I think orangutan is also an ape. Yeah. So yeah, so ecosystem service, cultural, spiritual, and historical, recreational experiences, science and education, therapy, all these come under the cultural category. So what are the supporting category then? Any answer? Anybody? See, answer is D. Yeah, you're right. But what is supporting category? Like what all comes in supporting category? Yeah. Also the all the cycles like nitrogen cycle, carbon cycle, oxygen cycle, they all come under supporting category. Yeah, nutrition cycle. So yeah. All right. Any other question that people have before I end the session? Jyotsna, Utkarsh, Janmoni, Rashidul, Bharat. Okay. Do look into the link. Don't forget. And you can download the magazine as well. It's a PDF that you'll be downloading, so it's worth reading through all those. I mean, you'll find one or the other topic that you actually enjoy reading about. So do look through all the issues. You can start from the latest ones. Cool then. Okay. We'll end the session today. Thank you for coming, guys. See you. Bye. Bye.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Bye.